x, and I'm going to put it as plus a negative, and that's really a negative 1y. So when I look at problem 3, those minuses are generally where students end up making problems. So we know y is equal to 2x plus negative 5. So I am going to write 4x plus, please write plus negative 1, but now instead of y was equal to 2x plus negative 5, and that whole thing was equal to 7. So if I'm looking at this, and again, if you didn't have any part of this done, you should be writing this down. So we are now going to distribute as we are looking at that. So we have 4x, and I'm going to distribute the negative 1. Negative 1 times 2x is going to leave us with a negative 2x. Are you writing this down? Okay. And then we're taking negative 1 times negative 5, which leaves us with a plus 5 equals 7. Is that where your mistake was? Where that negative? So it's really easy to have those off with the negatives. So now I'm going to add my like terms, which is the 4x and negative 2x. That leaves me with 2x plus 5 equals 7. I'm subtracting 5 on both sides. And 2x equals 2. And x is going to equal, when I divide both sides by 2, x equals 1. So I now have 1 for my x. So I'm looking at those answers, and I know there's some possibilities here. It's either going to be this one or it's going to be this one. Now I'm going to go to that first equation, and in that first equation, that's the easiest one to find y. And we are going to replace the x with 1. So I have 2 times 1 minus 5. So 2 minus 5 gives us negative 3. So number 3 was the HO. So those negatives, those subtractions, change them to plus a negative. Now, you do get some fractional answers. I believe if I'm looking at the fractional answers as I was looking at yours, I should see a fractional answer in 8, 9, and 11. Okay? So 8, 9, and 11. And the question that we were asked on was number 9. Maddie, when you solved number 9, which variable did you solve for in that first equation, x or y? For x. Does it matter if you solve it for x or y? They both have a 1 in front of them, right? So we are going to solve, you said you got x equals? You solved for y, okay? And you had what? Y equals what? Nope, just this part. Y equals, did you go negative x minus 1 or 1 minus x?
No, x equals negative y plus 1 and then
x. Okay. So you solve for x in this first equation. You keep switching it around on us. X is equal, and you subtracted y from both sides. So did you put negative y plus 1? Okay. Could you have said x was equal to 1 minus y? Would that be the same thing? Mm-hmm. So we are going to take a look at number 9. I'm going to go down here to do my work. Okay. So I don't have enough room. So in number 9, second equation, I'm going to write 2, but instead of x, I'm putting a negative, and that was 1y plus 1, and then I have minus y equals negative 2. So I'm going to continue with minus y equals negative 2. Okay? So I took this equation, and the only thing I changed differently was the x. This is going to give me a negative 2y. 2 times 1 gives me a plus 2. This is a minus 1y. I might even rewrite it as plus a negative 1y equals negative 2. Okay. So when I'm solving that, I'm going to be subtracting, if I look at this, subtract 2 from both sides. negative 1 plus a negative 2, that gives me a negative 3y equals negative 4. Dividing both sides by negative 3, y equals 4 thirds, which, when we are looking at our answers up above, right, 4 thirds, we see that here for the y, and we see it here. So we actually have two possibilities that we are looking at for that one, right? Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
So now we're going to go back, and I'm going to go back, and here's the deal. Some of you don't use the original. Go back to the very original problem. And to me, the easiest one is the first one. And it says that I'm taking x plus y equals 1. And we just found that y was a negative 4 thirds. So x plus positive 4 thirds equals 1. 1 is the same as what, if I want to write it as a fraction with 3 in the denominator? What would we write it as? 3 over 3? Isn't 1 the same as 3 over 3? So now if I subtract 4 thirds from both sides, 3 thirds minus 4 thirds, x equals negative 1. Okay. Substitution that we are looking at today, when you have no solution when we solve a system is when you have something like a false statement, right? False statements is something like 0 equals 7. If you get 0 equals 7, so please write this in your notes, you are going to have no solution. What's going to happen, you're in your notes, we're on page 16, so turn to your notes, start writing. As you look at this, the variables both cancel. So make sure you write that. The variables cancel. You're not going to have any variables left, and you get a false statement, 0 equals 7. When you have infinitely many, again, your variables cancel. Only thing this time when the variables cancel, you're going to be looking at something like 0 equals 0 or 4 equals 4. When you have a true statement, you're going to tell us that there's infinitely many. So tonight's homework, different than the ones up to this point where you've always had one solution, you are going to be having those two types of answers. So as you look at this equation, we know y equals x plus 3. Please substitute in that first equation. So I am going to write 2x plus, Lucy, I'm going to have 2 times, what is y equal to? What is our y equal to that I'm going to replace this y with? X plus 3. And we're still going to have that equals 38. So now we're going to use our distributive property. If I'm using the distributive property as I do that, Ella, I'm going to have 2x plus what? 2x plus 2x. And then if I continue multiplying that kind, I'm going to have plus.
Oh, you're going to have a 6.
Plus 6 equals our 38. Okay. So in this case, this one is going to have a solution, right? Because the variables don't cancel. We got 2x plus 2x. We have 4x. Subtract 6 from both sides equals 32. 32 divided by 4 leaves us with x equaling 8. We get our first part of our solution, x equals 8. Remember, it is always x, then your y. So now we're going to look at solving the second equation. We put y equals, instead of x plus 8, we are going to put, or x plus 3, we're going to put 8 plus 3, and 8 plus 3 leaves us with 11. When you're on your homework quiz today and you're checking a substitution one like this, what you can do is once you get this answer of 8, 11, you can go to the first equation and just check it. And if we are checking that first equation, that means we're going to replace the x and y with the 8 and 11. we are looking at that, and we go back to this first equation, we are going to take 2 times 8 plus 2 times 11. And the question is, does that equal 38 today? So when you're on the homework quiz today and you're doing this check, 16 plus 22, is it equal to 38? And it checks. So we got the right answer. Okay? Check. What's that? Okay. So turn to that next page where the theater ticket. If you are reading where it says theater tickets. Yep. So as we are reading, Haley, would you read that where it says the theater tickets?
All tickets to the play cost $20. Tickets for children cost $15. Tickets for over 11 people cost a total of $248. Write and follow a system of equations to find how many children and how many adults are included.
So instead of using X and Y, they used A and C, adult and children, right? Makes sense? So this is the number of tickets. How many tickets? How many people went? How many tickets did we buy? How many people went? 11. A plus C equals 11. So usually when you write systems of equations in the story problems, because we're going to be doing quite a bit of that kind of going into later next week, you have to think of one is going to deal with the number and this is going to deal with the value. So how much was each adult ticket? 22A plus 15C, and how much money did we spend altogether? 228. Now, we are asked to find how many adult and how many children and adult tickets. Does it matter in this first equation if I solve for A or C? I'm going to solve for A. A is going to equal, I have to subtract C from both sides, 11 minus C. I am now going to go to this equation and replace the A. So I have 22 instead of A. I have plus 15C equals 228. Here I am putting in 11 minus C because that's what my A was equal to. So when I distribute 22 times 11, 242, minus 22C plus 15C equals 228. If you don't have your calculator, possibly take one out, or you're going to do this subtraction. You're going to subtract 242 from both sides. Is our answer going to be negative when we take 228 minus 242? Should be negative, right? And it's a negative.
Or for the C.
Negative 14. And now we're going to take negative 22 plus 15, which leaves me with a negative 7C. Okay, when we added these like terms, okay, same side of the equal sign. We're going to divide both sides by negative 7. And the number of children, negative 14 divided by negative 7 is 2. So we know that we got 2 children's tickets, right? Which means how many adults if they had to get to 11? 9. Adult had to be 9. Do you have to show the work for how you got adult equals 9? No, I pretty much could see that if you could substitute it back in here, but I'm okay with looking at it like that. So that as we look at this solution, we are going to be asked what is our answer, and we are going to put down 9 adults and 2 children. The last one that we are going to look at, and none of these came out to be infinitely many or no solution, but that is going to be a case that you're going to see in your homework tonight.
Are those only 2 answers?
As you are reading this problem, Jack Rose, want to read for us?
The measure of one acute angle and a right triangle is 4 times the measure of the other acute angle. Right, you solve a system of equations to find the measure of the acute angle.
So in equation 2, if one angle is 4 times the other one, that means that x is going to have to be equal to 4y. This is my smaller angle, right? So x equals 4y. Some of you aren't writing that, please write that down. What do you know all 3 angles in a triangle sum to? 180. 180. So x plus y plus 90 equals 180. And we know x equals 4y. So we are going to go to our first equation. And instead of using x, we're going to put what? 4y. Because we can solve an equation when we have one variable. We cannot solve it when we have 2. So 4y, everything else stays the same, plus y plus 90 equals 180. We're going to subtract 90 from both sides. 4y plus 1y leaves us with 5y equaling 90. And you're going to divide 90 by 5. And y is equal to 18. So that means this angle up here is 18 degrees. And this is the easiest equation. Although you could subtract 18 from 90, right? That also gives us the answer, right? Because these two angles together have to equal 90, or you can say x equals 4 times 18. Both ways, if I'm solving that, y is equal to how many degrees? 72. So x is 72 degrees, y is 18 degrees. Tomorrow we're going to start a new method of solving. It's called the elimination. But tomorrow we will turn in this G6 and G7 worksheet. Okay? On this worksheet, you must have 6 to 12 completed with your work. If you have G6 done, you want to have that done too. So you might have done your work on a separate sheet,